Hello, everybody. Welcome to, I'm just going to call them episodes, Katains Log episode 2. Now, how I left off how I left off in the last episode was basically telling you about how we'd got all this food then that we were going to cook up. So I'll take you to that morning, the sound of the alarm. It's time to wake up. I woke up really quite easily, actually, which shocked me, considering the jet lag I thought I was going to have, but very, very grateful I didn't have any. Anyway, so I jumped out of bed, quick shower, and then jumped straight into the kitchen. Mickey, the guy who was sharing the pod across from me, he was super keen to come. As I said, he'd also been on the streets and he was super keen to come and help me with the food, and no one else was in the pod chair, so I was really, really grateful to have him come with me. So yeah, cooked up like 5 pizzas, all of these snacks and everything else, and while that was sort of happening, I decided to go. There was a gorgeous little cafe right next to us, so I went and supported them, and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to go and ask them what hot drink that they would like this morning. Do you have the capacity to help me? And they were like, yeah. I said, there could be quite a few because there's quite a few people out there. And they were like, nah, sweet, we're good to go, and we'll give you a really, really good price because, we have a feeling you're going to be ordering a lot. So anyway, Mickey and I went out and we took the pizza around. So we got them, getting some food to start with, and sort of, this massive plate of all the different types of pizza. And this was really interesting because obviously if you were going to a house, you would knock on the door and knock on the doorbell. But here we are with tents and they don't have door knockers or doorbells. So you kind of have to be quiet in a way because, you don't want to disturb everyone else. So you kind of like lightly tap on there. I'm really, really, really grateful for Mickey because, like I said, with his experience of what he'd been through, he very much guided me as to how this was able to happen. So one by one, we sort of said, would you like some pizza? And there were hands that just came out of the tent and took the pizza. It was quite almost like a bit of a cartoon sort of thing. We had to guide the plate underneath their hands, so they took the pizza. And then you get, can I have another couple? And then the hand would come back out again. And then there were other people that would zip open the tent and, and you straight away you would get the aroma of the tent. And I don't really need to go into too much description of what you think that may be. But, and they were just the smiliest, happiest people ever. And, they wanted to talk. So we probably spent about an hour just handing out pizza and getting coffee orders and hot chocolates and tea and stuff like that. So there were a few stories that really stuck out for me, but one that I really wanted to talk about was, so there was one tent with 4 adults and a dog together. And, there was a trolley that had stuff in with a tarpaulin over it, and this was kind of on the edge, so it was tucked into the corner. They were using everything that they could get hold of, like the cardboard and the pieces of tin and other things and debris they'd found on the roads. Anyway, we had a chat with this couple, and they said that the night before their tent had blown away. They were really struggling to, they'd just come back from the council building and no one was helping them. So thankfully Mickey had all these details and in these places where they could go and check. And so we stayed with them and made a few phone calls, and we couldn't get through to anyone. No one was interested in helping them. Anyway, so here they were in dire need of a tent. Their dog wasn't that old. They told us a story of how they'd sort of trekked across the country. She was really upfront and honest with me. She's like, I'm completely drug fucked. I'm trying to get off it now. I've got this little baby, and she held up her dog, and she was like, this little one has got me on the straight and narrow. And then she told me the story. She was incredible with this dog, the training and the connection that she had. So for me, I am under no hesitation that this dog came to them at the right point, because at the point that she had this baby to look after, and she told me that she'd also had an abortion, and she was really, really open with me. But here she is with this new baby to look after, and she wanted to clean up her act. So her and her partner, again, I'll give a bit of a description. Meth had been their drug of choice, so they didn't really have teeth. Their skin was pretty bad. Their hair was matted. They were in a bad way. But I could see once again there was like genuineness in her eyes, and she was just, like I said, so upfront and honest, and no one was asking for money. Nobody. They were just really, really grateful for the food that we were taking around, and they were all very happy to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So yeah, those guys really stuck in my head, and it was freezing cold as well. And I was like, Mickey, can you take me to a Walmart? And he sort of said, yeah, sure. There's a couple. They're about half an hour away. We'll need to get a cab. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let's just go and get the coffee sorted, and then we'll come back. And then if you can take me, I'd really appreciate it, because, what's a tent? $100? No problems. I'd really like to enable them to have a house. The three fundamental things that a human needs: security, safety, basically a roof to call their own, and food and water. And as I said a few times in my Instagram posts, our governments can't manage any of those at the moment. And in particular in this scenario, there was nobody who wanted to help them at the town hall at all. So we went back and went to the cafe and got all the coffees and went and distributed those out again. And that was interesting in itself, because no one remembered what they wanted, even though we'd kind of like done, I used to do a lot of event planning. So for me, it was quite synchronistic. It was okay, well, this is tent one by the tree and all the rest of it. So, but a lot of them just didn't care. They were just happy to have something warm and homely in their bellies, I guess. So after we did all of that, I finally got a coffee myself, and I said, all right, Mickey, let's go and find a tent. I went to the first Walmart, there was nothing. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is not gonna, go very well, but I'm not gonna give up. Can we go to like a camping shop? Anyway, he said, oh, there's another shop. So we went there and we got a tent, and it was like, I think in the end we got like a 5-person dome tent, which was, a decent size for them. So that was perfect. And also there was a sale on gloves and socks. So I basically just went and bought them out of gloves and socks. And so poor Mickey, we didn't get a trolley. This is one of my traits. Whenever I go shopping, I forget baskets and trolleys. And so here's me and Mickey just like our arms with, Mount Shasta basically version of socks and gloves in our arms to get to the checkout. And I tell you what, the face, I will never forget the face of the woman who saw us walking up. And here's Mickey trying to like grab a bottle of water and some chocolate as well at the same time. And this woman was just like, I don't know where to start. And I said, well, how about this? I'm pretty sure there's 20 pairs of socks. I'm pretty sure there's 20 pairs of gloves. And she went, you know what, that's good enough for me. There was 22, full disclosure, but you know what, they were on offer, and we did buy the full price box of chocolates and everything that Mickey wanted. So anyway, I believed that we were doing a good thing, and I would be forgiven for those $2 or $3 extra that I didn't spend. Swings and roundabouts. Went back and we distributed these socks and gloves. And then we couldn't find a couple anywhere. So I was like, oh, bugging. Well, maybe they've got themselves sorted out, and I really hope they hadn't been moved on from their friends. And Mickey and I went to Venice Beach, and we just grabbed some lunch and spoke to a few more people down there, spoke to them about music. A lot of the common themes were, we would sort of sit with them, and they were listening to music outside a shop or smoking weed, because as I said, it's legal there. And then we saw this couple, so straight away, like, we got up and we went and had a chat with them, and the night was sort of dawning. Night was dawning, you know what I mean? The night was coming in, the sunset was happening. It was perfect timing because once again it just started to rain, so we were able to give them a tent. They were able to settle in. She gave me the biggest hug and kiss, and she was just like, I don't even care whether you want this or not. I was like, no, come here, give me a hug. Like, she's just such a beautiful person. I don't care what she'd been through. I didn't care that she had no teeth, and her story was what she was, and she just had the warmest heart when she told me about the animals that she'd rescued along the way, and I could just see that she'd just got into this addiction, which had taken a hold on her. So grateful that we were able to put a roof over their heads. And then that night Mickey and I were just walking down Venice Beach. I was really glad to have him with me because it's not the safest place, but we heard a piano, and it was like, where's that coming from? I looked up, and there's this grand piano, and these kids were sort of just playing on it. Anyway, the story goes is that Nathan, who we ended up meeting, he was dressed a bit like Beethoven. He had his hair all done in a plait, and he had his trench coat on. Incredible pianist. Like, this man, when he was playing the piano, just went into this eyes rolled back trance state. It was like it was someone else that had just taken over him. Anyway, the story goes, he was a very well-known concert pianist. And then he became very down on his luck and addicted to a few things, and music kind of took a back step. Anyway, the locals all teamed together because he loved to play, and the locals all teamed together and crowdfunded this piano. So I think it was something like $5,000, this grand piano. So here he is living in his van with another person. He has the custody of this grand piano, which one of the other restaurants agrees that he can have the piano. So they built him a platform. They've got the piano on the platform, and this piano, his friend comes with him because Nathan's eyesight isn't that good anymore, and his friend comes with him and basically makes sure that the piano is looked after. Nathan, he had trouble with his leg as well, so he had a bit of I guess you could call it a lazy foot, where he was sort of dragging his foot. But as I said, when he sat on that stool, that piano stool, it was just mind-blowing what he could still remember. And I think it's true to all of us, right? Once we have that skill, even if it's years, it doesn't take much if we trust that it can come back. And then this is something that I was really interested to watch. He put his bucket, which was like a wine bucket, which one of the restaurants had given him for money. And he put his bucket out there, and everybody was stopping. They were taking videos of him. They were taking pictures, even though he wasn't really aware because he was in this trance state. And nobody, not one person, put any money in that bucket. People literally got a free freaking classical concert from an incredible pianist. And when he finished, they all just left. And I was just dumbfounded. And not just talking about locals, we're talking about the tourists as well. So Nathan's material is probably on Instagram somewhere and being shared. And this poor guy is living in a car, not even knowing when he's going to get his next meal. Anyway, basically, after he finished the piano, being a pianist myself, I went and had a chat with him, and I sort of said it was absolutely mind-blowingly amazing, very unexpected. Thank you so much. I said, I can give you some money, but I'd actually really love to have a chat with you over dinner. So we ended up going out for dinner with him and a couple of others. And here's the thing when you take someone on the streets out for dinner. Not many restaurants want you to go in. And that was a really interesting thing for me, because there was one that I'd been to for lunch. Mickey and I had gone there for lunch. So I was like, you know what, they know me already. So I went in there and I said, like, guys, you stay outside. And again, Nathan's piano was close to this restaurant, so they knew him. And I just went in there and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to bring them in for dinner. There should be no issues. You know, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol. We just want to sit and have some dinner. Anyway, he came back and said, look, I've spoken to the manager. It's not a problem. Do you mind if you sit outside? I said, no, we'd prefer to anyway. It's not a problem. So anyway, yeah, we ended up like setting up this big table. We spoke about the mafia in Sicily because they were Italian. We spoke about like his life back in the 70s, and we spoke about so many things, so many incredible stories that I wish I just had the video camera on and just recorded that night. You know, so many laughs. He was hilarious. And like I said, the stories he would talk about the mafia and the grandmothers of the mafia and the mothers of the mafia and just some of the things that they used to get up to in Boston, and just one of the most amazing moments that I will always hold dear to my heart. And I guess this is the other thing, is that we don't always have to put stuff on camera. You know, sometimes that moment is just for us, and it will be forever ingrained in my heart. Anyway, we said goodbye. Mickey and I went back to the hostel, and the guys went back to their vehicles or their tents, and we'd agreed to catch up the next day. So I guess that's pretty much what happened. Went home, went to sleep, got it the next day, went and caught up with them, and took them some coffee and some breakfast and stuff. And the whole day we were just sitting outside Nathan's van, and you know, he opened up to me a lot about some stuff that had happened in his life, and it did get a little bit emotional at times. And you know, I'm not going to talk about that just out of respect for him, but yeah, it was really amazing. He said, and I quote, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I feel like I can." And I said, Nathan, if I have been brought to you to release whatever you need to release, to let it go, so you know there is a new start for you somewhere along the line, then I'm really, really grateful. You know, he talked to me a lot about his guilt and his anger towards certain people, and you know, like I said, it was just a really, really powerful moment. Mickey was, he's also another muso. He's an incredible writer. So he was chatting to some other people. Next minute I know, we've got everybody coming to see us. So we've got music blaring. We've got more musos coming in. The guitar starts coming out. Like, there was dancing on the streets. We're all like surrounding his spaceship. And I'll call it a spaceship because it was one of those camper vans. You know, and just incredible afternoon. Hours just went. We were there for like 4 hours and there was a little bit of rain coming in, and we were just dancing and just having a ball. And I met this other beautiful woman as well, and she was telling me that it's really, really hard for a woman to be on the streets. You're in constant survival mode, and you know, when you're living in your car, you have to make sure that you're always making sure it's locked, even though that everybody knew her in the area. Another incredible artist. Her lyrics about being on the street and the love that she once had for herself and had lost, again, just incredible. And I really, really, really hope that some of the people that I met end up doing something. I pray for all the people that I have met who have been so incredibly talented. I pray that somewhere along the line that someone recognizes this and is in a position to, you know, really put their hand down and help them, because these lyrics can help a lot of people. You know, we underestimate the power of our words, and words have always been so powerful. Words can really upset people. You don't need a degree to hurt someone, right? You know, words are all that you need. And so that's why it's always really important and very, very mindful that when we are using words in the capacity of our story, that we know it's our story, and we can be as open and as vulnerable as we want to be, because even if it helps one person to do the same thing, and then that has a knock-on effect, then the world is just going to be a nicer place. You know, if people are able to sort of go, wow, I don't feel like I'm so strange, you know, other people have had a similar story, and maybe I can let go of that guilt and that resentment because that person's managed to do something with their life after they've been through this. So those are my biggest prayers for these incredible souls that I met, and this amazing few days that I had with them. And yeah, that night, Mickey and I straight away went back to the hostel, and then the next day I went and said goodbye because I was heading off to the airport. So I was not going to leave without saying goodbye to everyone. And another huge street party happened. I learned all about Burning Man, and I learned about their life as struggling musos, and then there was a guy who rocked up in a really, really smart car, and he's got his music blaring, and Venice Beach is the place for artists and music for sure. And he's telling me about how he wants to set up a studio and help those people on the streets record, so he doesn't really want to charge, and he's looking for an investor. And I'm like, dude, I am not your investor, but I really, really pray. So we had this moment together where we basically just tried to manifest whatever he was looking for. Not tried, I believe it's going to happen, because his mission with his connections and everything else, if he can when he ties all this together, he's going to help a lot of people be able to be in that creative space and have that outlet. He showed me all his plans for this building that he had, where he wanted to have a place where they could come and stay as well, to give them some respite of being in their cars. And anyway, 3 incredible days, met some amazing people. We all have a choice as to how we interact with people, right? And just because something has happened in their life and their soul path is to put them onto the streets to learn valuable lessons, or to go through what they go through so they can pull themselves out and therefore then lead other people, please, I really encourage you to see them as not separate from you. We just had a different path. And you will be amazed with what you can learn, what they've seen. It will open your eyes in the most incredible ways. 1, 2, 3 eyes, And I will say this, living out of their cars, living out of tents, sometimes just living in a doorway, I'll tell you what they had. They always had faith. There was not one person who did not talk to me about God, and that they believed that this was their time to be in the situation they were, because God would always look after them. They had faith. Doesn't matter what your opinion is of God. This was a binding agent that enabled them to wake up every morning and feel protected. And that, for people who had nothing in a materialistic way, to me, the faith they had meant they had so much more richness than so many other people in this world. So yeah, Venice Beach started out like, where am I? And then I ended up leaving with some incredible family, and it was emotional saying goodbye to them. You form these incredible connections, and they don't see you as anything different either. They don't see you as a cash cow or a wallet, which is different to other parts in the world. And yeah, maybe it is because they are in a Western society. But never once did I feel like I was in this guilt mode of, well, I've got to give to you, because, they were just friends. And if I ever get to see them again, I will be so grateful. We exchanged numbers, email addresses, because everybody has a smartphone. Well, Nathan didn't actually, but I managed to sort of connect with him through someone else. And yeah, just absolutely incredible experience. And then, so the next day I ended up going to the airport, and I'm just going to roll this all into one because it's boring talking about flying. But I turned up the wrong day. So yeah, I felt like my soul was pulling me away, because I was very much getting trapped into that whole situation of not being able to say no. And this is a thing that I've really been working on as well, and it's really hard when you are I call a light worker, whatever you want to say. It is really hard when you're faced with these situations where people are struggling, and you see them, and because you see them, and you see them, not see them, you see them. There is no separation there. you know, it's a beautiful connection, and it's something that they've probably not had for a long time. So sometimes breaking away from that, oh, you know, you're gonna have to come back, like, can we do coffee tomorrow before you go? No, guys, I have to actually have some time to myself. I'm really sorry if we're supposed to see each other again. I love you all, and I love this incredible chapter with you, but I really have to go because I have to stay on track. And feeling confident enough to be able to sort of have that conversation as well. That's been a huge growth thing for me, because again, I struggle to walk away when I know that the connection is strong there. So anyway, there I am at the airport. I'm like, oh my goodness, for the first time in my life, I'm going to be early. And I really was a day early. So yeah, I was like, wow, what am I supposed to do now? The airport was crazy busy. There was people everywhere because there'd been several flights delayed because of the weather. I'd messaged my beautiful friend Sophia, and she was like, babe, I'd have you here in a heartbeat, but I don't know if you know much about this area. Santa Barbara is 2 hours away nearly. You know, that's a very long taxi ride, and you know, she just landed from her travels. So yeah, in the end, I walked out. I took a huge breath, and I was faced with all the buses. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something really radical. These are all hotel buses. I'm going to trust that the bus I get on has got a room, and that's exactly where I need to be. And so I did. And yes, you've guessed it. I rocked up at this hotel, and I'm sat there waiting to check in. And I had no idea whether they had a room. There was this really, really long queue. I was just praying that I didn't have to then go and jump in another one. And as I'm stood there, I feel my head turn, and it's to the concierge desk, and on there it was like, been to Hollywood yet? I was like, oh no, universe, please, I don't want to go to Hollywood, please, this is not something I'm interested in. There's so much darkness there. I already knew about Skid Row and everything else, and yeah, anyway, here I am at this hotel. Concierge rocks up. His name is Jesus. And then we start talking about Hollywood. So yes, of course, I booked myself onto that tour. And it was basically one of the last places, so I knew that was aligned. I then got back in the queue. I got an upgraded room, so I was very, very grateful that I followed my soul path and got rewarded. So yeah, I got a really beautiful room for like absolutely no upgrade price at all. And then I went up to my room. I had an incredible view, and I just sat there and I got goosebumps all over me. And I knew that I had a lot of, I guess, the spiritual energy was with me. And I just said, don't worry, whoever I've got to drop off in Hollywood, I'll drop you off. Whoever wants to go and see the Walk of Fame, I will take you there. But please protect me, because I know that when your heart is open, you can easily get infiltrated with some of the other shadows and the lower sort of vibrational situations happening. And yeah, just a quick one about the tour. The next day I jumped on the bus, and I was completely right. You know, the drive around was really eye-opening. Like, where I was in Venice Beach was nothing compared to what I saw in the main heart of where Beverly Hills was. And it was quite sickening to me, almost a little bit like the first time I went to the Vatican, if I'm honest. And I don't mean to offend anyone, these are my opinions, but the wealth in the Vatican, you know, and then seeing how many people were homeless in Rome just really kind of stuck into my heart from about 6 years ago. And this felt the same. Here you are with famous people everywhere, and then there's people eating and feeding out of bins on their very streets, you know, and it's just this this epitome of duality of where we are, and reality in these places, you know. And a lot of these people are performing artists who cannot afford to live, and they do have the situation as well with Airbnb, which is forcing people out onto the streets as well, because no one can afford to rent in their own city. And Hollywood itself, it pissed down with rain the whole time we were there. I was walking down the Walk of Fame, you know, took a couple of pictures as you do, found my way to the sign, but I could not wait to get out of there. at all. It was interesting when I was walking though, I stopped right at the start of one of my favorite groups, and it was the Carpenters, and I felt all these goosebumps coming through me. It was just a really powerful moment. Like, again, here I am in Hollywood. I've got the star of Karen Carpenter, whose story is just, wow, just really hard hitting. I encourage you to go and read up about Karen Carpenter and what happened to her. It's really, really sad. And just another example of, you can have it all, you can have everything, but you still aren't happy. As you know, it was very much, she ended her life, and she wasn't happy. So I got out of Hollywood as quick as I could. And I sat next to a Kiwi guy on the bus, and he was telling me all about little tricks and things in Argentina. So that was perfect, because he'd just come back from Argentina, so that was nicely aligned. He was able to sort of give me some tips on Buenos Aires. And then, I had some sushi, and I got an early night. And then the next day, I was on the right plane, ready to go to Argentina, to land in beautiful Buenos Aires. And I'm going to leave it here, because Argentina was a whole different kettle of fish. But the time I had in the US was so full on for me. It really was, it was just a complete eye-opener. And using the power of prayer. Mickey bought me this beautiful little prayer box. When basically what you do is you write down what you want to pray for, and you fold the piece of paper up, you put it in the box, and you put it under the pillow. And it was such a powerful gift for me. Here we are, like, not really knowing each other. He was telling me about his ancestry line in Africa, which is where I'm at. She sat right now. He wanted me to decide which one to buy, and I said, no, Mickey, if you want to buy me a gift, then it comes from you. And he bought me this prayer box with a hummingbird that had sort of been burnt onto the top with this gorgeous turquoise stone, which is beautiful, because the whole point of my trip was to start to come into balance with the masculine and the feminine energy within, and also help other people recognize that balance is integral, and that we've completely lost it in our lives. So the hummingbird as well signifies such a beautiful spiritual sign, joyful, cheerful, bright, flitting from one thing to the next, and just brings so much love and joy. And the hummingbird has guided me quite a bit across the sort of 2 years. Even to, back in, saying that out loud, back in 2021, I was... my friend Liz, her daughter was given a paint by numbers by a very special man to me, and she never did it. But when I got locked down in COVID, I was like, I'm going to do it. And that was one of the last things that I did in my home, in my home that I had in my marriage. And I painted this hummingbird, and I remember looking at it going, this is a very powerful sign for me, because she, as a bird, has incredible properties. And if you look into the hummingbird sign in the Native American side of things, it's very special, and it's beautiful. So always guided, always listening, always checking out those synchronicities, and always in trust. As hard as it is every single day, I have to work at this trust with the universe, with the plan, with the letting go of fear, with realizing that when I ask for people to come to me who have got a story that I can talk to them, or maybe that they're ready to be the recipient of the voice of their ancestors, then they will be brought to me. So I trust in that journey, no matter how sometimes scary or daunting it could be. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This one was a little bit longer, and I see now I look like an Oompa Loompa, but as I said, this is not perfect. I'm not in a studio. I don't have the best lighting, but just here doing my best and trying to spread my stories.